Good morning, everyone, and welcome to my review of episode 4 of She-Hulk. Such as it is. This show, and this episode in particular, is extremely hard to review because that will require that something worth talking about happens. And nothing of any real note happens in this show. This episode in particular. There are situations, but there's no comedy. It's supposed to be a sitcom, right? Situational comedy. I keep coming back to the idea, and I've mentioned this, I think, every episode. When I think of quirky, legal comedy with some grounding in both characterization and the law, I think of Boston Legal. And I watch this show, and I see what it could have been. You know, Boston Legal, but in a superhero Marvel context. And maybe that's what they hoped it would be, but it certainly is not what it is. And once again, as we get to a courtroom scene later on, the complete lack of talent on the basis of the writing staff in creating compelling legal comedy or drama or anything is absent. Absolutely absent. Anyway, yeah, so that's my stub review. If you need to watch nothing else of this review today, this broadcast, there you go. A few hellos and then I'll get into it. Funtime Bats, Little Mo Sislak, Dax Orion, Noah Asensio, Mike Savage, Blorg, Non-Vitae Rex. Good morning. Good morning. Okay, so the hint tease, Easter egg that was all a Twitter amongst the Twitters, that this was some kind of lead-in to Johnny Blaze, a.k.a. Ghost Rider. No, our character this time around is Donnie Blaze, a 2-bit magician. But not just any magician. No, he's a reject from Karmatage, the Doctor Strange School of Magic, the Hogwarts of the Marvel Universe. Yeah, so we have a stage magician who is currently levitating on stage. Right, he's levitating. Ooh, look, he's levitating. And then when he steps down, I don't think I can find the frame, of course, a bungee cord disappears behind him. You can watch the bungee cord be drawn up into the rafters. Except that there's no bungee cord. If the whole thing was supposed to be, oh, it's a gag, well, it doesn't make any sense because the bungee cord is completely invisible here, and then you see it come out from behind his back as he steps down. But, okay, anyway, so he's going to do some tricks on the stage, and there's an entire audience here sitting here who have apparently paid tickets for this, and nothing's happening because he's doing bad tricks. And then he's like, would an assistant like to come in the audience to volunteer? And this boozy girl shows up. This is Madison. We'll be hearing about Madison 3 or 4 times in this show. She's supposed to be comic relief, I guess. She's not. It's just bland. Anyway, so she's drunk. That's her entire character. She's drunk and ditzy. Which is really odd for this show. You know, sort of like categorizing a woman as simply a drunk, ditzy, whatever. Oh, okay, but anyway. So he brings her on stage, and she's ditzy. She's Madison with 2 N's, 1 Y, but it's not where you think. She'll say this line at least 1 or 2 more times in the course of this episode, because that's funny, I guess. Now, thank you, Snubbirth. What's worst, Law TV or this or modern Law and Order SVU? I haven't watched Law and Order, any Law and Order, except for clips on YouTube or something, for the better part of a decade. I really haven't. Old school Law and Order from the 90s, like the Ben Stone era, early Jack McCoy era, that kind of stuff. Back when Chris Noth was still on there, and Benjamin Bratt. Like those eras, you know, from the 90s to the very early 2000s, that's sort of like the best Law and Order ever was in my book. That and like Homicide running alongside it. I've never watched an episode of SVU. I don't know. What's worse, Law TV, this or mine? I couldn't compare. I could not compare. I have to assume that Law and Order SVU is better than this. because Law and Order SVU at least has a pedigree and probably has characters and plot advancement and at least makes some kind of sense. I don't know how funny SVU is. I'm assuming it's not, or at least not in an ironic way. Anyway, yeah, that's my best answer to that. Anyway, so Madison's on stage, and so then our hero here, he pulls out a sling ring, and he's got this manager, promoter, sort of like Mouth of the South, whatever, WWF kind of guy in the background. He's Cornelius. I have no idea why he's supposed to be important, but he is or something, I guess. Anyway, so Donnie Blaze here, he pulls out a sling ring, and he opens a portal. And he opens a portal to some, like, medieval-looking village-ish thing with, like, skulls on spikes. Now, I'm not all up exactly on the, physics of the sling ring, but every time that I've seen it used in the Doctor Strange show, it just opens up from one point to another on Earth, right? Like every time I saw Doctor Strange use that, or the Ancient One use it, she would open up like a portal from the temple to the desert, or to a mountaintop, or to some location on Earth. Apparently, he's opening up portals to other realms or dimensions. Maybe they expand on this in Multiverse of Madness, because I haven't actually watched that movie. But anyway, so he somehow opens up a portal to a medieval village, and then Madison disappears into it, or falls into it or something. Then we jump to Nepal, where Wong is getting ready to watch The Sopranos, because you hear the Sopranos opening theme music playing. And my first thought was, what was the licensing on that got to be like? I mean, who owns The Sopranos? Or at least that song? Anyway, so he's going to watch The Sopranos, because Wong, that's what he does. He watches The Sopranos, I guess. So he's about to sit down and watch The Sopranos, and all of a sudden, Madison drops in from a portal up above Wong, and she's holding a heart. And she's like, where are the goblins? Are you the Goblin King? And he's like, who are you? Where did you come from? And she's like, oh, I'm from Fort Lauderdale. Like, oh my God. But now my dad lives in Phoenix with his new family, and like I visit sometimes. And Wong's like, did a cut-rate magician send you? Because Wong already knows where she came from and how she got here. And she says, he sent me to a diff dimension, and a talking goat helped me escape in exchange for 6 drops of my blood or something. A diff dimension. Guys, dimension. I mean, that sounds vaguely Yiddish, but okay, dimension. Okay, anyway, so she ruins Sopranos for Wong, because in all the years that Sopranos has existed, he's never watched the episodes, but he ruins for him that Adriana gets killed. As though anybody couldn't have seen that coming. Anyway, but he's like, Donnie Blaze is going to pay for this, for ruining my Sopranos episode. She-Hulk! And then we cut to a fourth wall break where Jennifer's like, oh, did you like Wong? Everybody loves Wong. That'll give us some cover on Twitter for the next day or two. Like, not really. And then Dad shows up, because Dad heard that she was attacked by 4 men last night. He's come here to beef up her security. Even though her being attacked by the 4 men was completely pointless and nothing happened, because she picked them up and threw them around, and she was in no danger at any time, because she's never in any danger at any time. And Dad has heard about this, and he asked her, like, what did the cops say? What did the police say, when you told them about these 4 men that came out of nowhere and attacked you and attempted to kidnap you and assault you and everything else? And she's like, oh, they said police stuff. And he's like, you didn't tell the cops? Are you serious? I was a prosecutor long enough to know that they're not going to catch these guys. Like I say, I understand this is supposed to be a comedy show, that some things are supposed to be ironic, satire, etc., but at the same time, they want us to take the characters seriously to some extent. So she was an assistant district attorney. She was assaulted in the middle of the night by people targeting her, specifically with magical weapons that couldn't hurt her as the She-Hulk, but could conceivably hurt other people. But who cares about calling the cops? They're not going to catch them. They're not going to catch 4 guys with glowing magical weapons. What's the point? Okay. See, here's the thing. As little as has been established about Jennifer Walters' character in this show, all I have to build my sense of her character is what she says and what she does. And this is one of those moments, like, okay, not worth alerting the authorities about. She runs a superhuman law division. There are people running around with superpowered weapons. No point in alerting anybody. Okay, well, there you go. Anyway, back at the law firm, the big plot of the show, the B plot, is Jen Walters and her Tinder account. They call it Matcher. You get it? Match, fire, Tinder. Anyway, the Matcher account and her dating life. She has to get a date, so she sets up a Matcher account with her Jennifer Walters persona, i.e. her photograph. And then we get Nikki shows up because we have to show the footage of her being interviewed again and the origin of her name. Who came up with She-Hulk? Some guy on the news did. Just remember that. That'll be important at the very end of the show, sort of. Anyway, Wong shows up into the office again, and I'd been wondering where that scene from the trailers where Wong is like asking about the laws, and she says, we have to do this by the book, and he says, the Book of Vishanti? No, the Book of American Laws. That's this scene. I thought that would happen last episode. But apparently every episode now is going to revolve around Wong. Because everybody loves Wong. I still don't understand why anybody... They really are pushing Wong as like some sort of mascot or something. Like, I don't have a problem with the character or the actor necessarily, but he's just not that compelling. Never really has been. But anyway, so Wong shows up and he's like, this fake magician is doing magic and I want him to stop doing magic. So I want you, Jennifer Walters, to stop him from doing magic. I want an injunction. I want a cease and desist. So he's complaining about how he barely has a grasp of the basics of interdimensional portaling. And I'm like, when did you guys do interdimensional portaling? Right? Was that from like Far From Home? I guess that's the closest you can come, right? When Ned was like, wishing for Peter Parker, take me to Peter Parker. Is that the interdimensional stuff now? I thought that was only happening because of the spell. I thought the veil between the dimensions had been weakened by Doctor Strange's spell, and that's why Ned was able to do that. But that's all gone now, right? But this 2-bit Hogwarts reject can now open up portals to literally other dimensions with just a sling ring and no training? This is the problem with most situations where you introduce magic. If you do not have some very well-established rules for how magic is supposed to work or what the costs are for using magic, then anything is possible, and you start contradicting yourself and setting up a whole bunch of problems. Anyway, so, this guy is practicing magic without a license. So Wong wants to set up a precedent of licensing magical use. I thought there was already the Sokovia Accords, that people with superpowers had to be registered. Or did those just go out the window? Anyway, he wants to set a precedent that no unlicensed persons can practice magic. Did Mr. Blaze sign an NDA or a non-compete with the magical school of Carmitage? And he's like, students pledge themselves to be loyal servants of the mystic arts. We answer to a higher power. And she's like, sure, but this is the American legal system. Except that he's based in Nepal. So it has nothing to do with the American legal system. Carmitage is in Nepal. Wong lives in Nepal. This Donnie Blaze guy is doing magic tricks. Unlicensed? Doctor Strange is unlicensed. All of this applies to Ned. Ned needs to be prosecuted now. Wait, See, this is the problem. When you establish rules in your universe and you don't apply them equally, a whole bunch of questions come up. Thank you again, Snubberth. Wong's going to be made a joke for a temporary villain, or a temporary villain for empowerment narrative, isn't he? I don't know what they're doing. I have no idea what they're doing. This episode, this show makes so little sense. It makes so little sense. Anyway, so Wong wants to sue Donnie Blaze for practicing magic without a license. Okay, that's the plot, such as it is. Then we jump to restaurant, where our two girls are talking case stuff, I guess, and sitting down for drinks while Jennifer works on the case. And then a guy comes up and says, "Excuse me, ladies, I hate to see two stunning women sitting all alone." And she's like, "Okay, well, there's two of us, so by definition, not alone." "Well, when you change your mind, I'll be at the bar." Now, we never see this guy again after this scene, so I assume he's being set up for something in a future episode. I'm guessing. Maybe he's Frogman. I'm still waiting for Frogman to show up. Anyway, so he disappears out of the episode, and see, that guy is exactly why I don't date, says Jennifer. Jennifer, who just set up a Tinder account earlier in the episode. So anyway, and so then Nikki says, "Show me your matcher profile." No. Like, okay. Oh my god, Jen, you used your corporate headshot as your profile photo? Like, no. We gotta make a She-Hulk account. No, I don't want to be She-Hulk. I don't want to date a She-Hulk. I just want to be Jennifer. Alright? And then Nikki says, "Oof, hetero life is grim." Oh well, sorry. She-Hulk is heterosexual. You're just gonna have to live with it, I guess. I thought you hated the name She-Hulk. I do, but I can't think of anything else that's so catchy. This is where we're at. This is anyway. So Jennifer and Wong go off to Donnie Blaze to. This is an official warning to cease all practices of the mystic arts, because somehow the American legal system can intervene in this. And Donnie brings up some good points. You can't trademark a spirit, register a soul, and then he says copyright art. And then Jennifer says, well, actually, you can copyright art. Well, yes, but a performance? Like, here's the thing. And I don't know. This might be a good question, right? Is there any legal precedent in real life of a magician attempting to copyright/trademark a trick? Okay? Because here's what my mind starts thinking about if I was in the writer's room. Has there ever been, in the real life of American jurisprudence, an instance where one magician sued another magician for the performance of a particular trick? And could I take that actual real-world example and extrapolate it into this scenario? And could I have my lawyer main character cite that case as a precedent, if such a thing existed? Or use it as a counterpoint to all of this in advising Wong what to do? Could I actually draw some real-world inspiration into this crazy comic book universe and tie it and ground it a little bit? Could I? I bet I could. Do the writers of this show even go that step? No, they don't. They don't. They don't even bring up like real life case law or something where this might be applicable or something. No. So anyway, my brain's working overtime to try to make up for this show's failings. I don't know. Thank you, Non-Bute Rex. The school has existed for presumably hundreds, if not thousands of years. Surely they have rules and regulations for this sort of thing in-house. Yeah, or extrajudicial action, right? If you misbehave as a practitioner of the mystic arts, well, hell, why don't you take away his sling ring? Right? Just as much as he is not regulated in his use of the mystic arts, neither are you. Don't you have, right? Aren't there, like you say, aren't there established consequences for going outside or going off the ranch on this? Why does he still have his sling ring? Take his sling ring away from him, and the problem is solved. Everything that this guy does in this show to cause a problem is because he has that one piece of technology or that one piece of mystical paraphernalia. Take it away from him, and he's done. He's got nothing. That's it. Nobody can do that stuff without a sling ring. Take away the sling ring. The end. But no, we have to somehow tie this in to superhuman law. Like, well, if you're going to do that, then go the extra mile and actually make it relevant to the whole situation. But you don't. So anyway, Donnie Blaze and them argue over his ability to use magic. And it's like, okay, well, we're going to take you to court. We will see you gentlemen in court. Like, okay. Now we go on the dating montage, right? Because Jennifer got a whole bunch of dates off of Matcher that she's now going on dates. And if you can believe it, every date that Jennifer has is like a terrible guy, a scummy guy, right? So this first guy, he talks about himself and talks about himself and talks about himself. I used to live in New York. I'm a New Yorker, born and bred. How long did you live there? 14 months. Comedy. I'm an entrepreneur. Oh, in what field? TBD, he says. If I didn't have my subtitles on, I'd have no idea what he was talking about. To be determined. So what do you do? I'm a lawyer. I started at a firm downtown. I work at this firm. And he's like looking at his phone and ignoring her. Which, you know, that's a bad date kind of thing. And then something happens, and it took me several beats, more or less, to understand what the hell was happening. The waitress comes by and puts down the check. And I'm watching this, and honestly, it didn't click for me. I guess I'm just slow. And all of a sudden, we have this existential battle of wills. Of who's going to pay the check. Now, this is supposed to be comedy. And I'm sitting there, it took me a second. Once I realized what was happening, I was like, oh, well, obviously, he's going to duck out on the check. Because he's a scumbag. We've established that he's a scumbag. And so they have this staring contest, and each one of them makes moves for who's going to pull out their wallet. And he pulls out his keys and like, well, thanks for the drinks, bye. And she's like, yeah, sure. And behind, over the shoulder, he says, this is Alan. She's like a 6, maybe. He's a very shallow guy, you see, and stuck her with the bill. And she's like, oh my God. And like, okay, so I mean, in the real world, is he supposed to pay for it? Is that what it's supposed to be? Or maybe you could have asked for 2 checks? Or was that the joke? Like he was supposed to pay the bill, and you're shocked at the prices, as though he wouldn't have to bear that burden himself. Like what's the joke here? I don't know. I guess I'm just blinded by my toxic masculinity or something. Comedy. Anyway, we get to a courtroom. And so we are moving against the defendant, citing unfair competition and gross negligence. Unfair competition of a Nepalese magic fortress and a stage magician. Why don't you just take away his sling ring? Just take it away. You know, portal yourself into his dressing room after a show, take his sling ring and go away. What's he gonna do? Call the cops on you? For what? You don't... Anyway, so they argue back and forth, and they need a witness. They need a witness to show that his stage show was dangerous. As though that makes any sense in this lawsuit, because then it would be a criminal matter or something. I don't know, because none of this makes any sense. And so Wong has to get a witness, and who do we get? Oh, well, he portals in. Now remember, the whole point of this supposed civil case is the reckless use of magic, effectively, right? The reckless use of magic. And so Wong effectively just kidnaps this lady from where she is to come to the courtroom against her own knowledge or notification to testify. So Madison appears all drunk in the courtroom after Wong opens up a portal in a courtroom, and everybody here's cool with this. This is the thing. Remember, I understand aliens have invaded in this universe and all this stuff. I guess it's just a very mundane thing now to see a portal open up in the middle of a room to another place and bring somebody in. Anyway, Madison, comedy relief, is like, oh, are you on trial for texting while you were driving? Just say you were texting 911. They can't prosecute. So drunk Madison goes up to the stand, and she spells out her name again, because that's a joke. And, could you tell us about the night you participated in Donnie Blaze's show? And she's like, yeah, so first he gave me roses that didn't smell like anything, then he pushed me into a fireland. Actually, he pushed you into a, like, medieval village thing. The show doesn't even know what it's talking about. We see the fireland later, like hell of some sort, but the actual image we saw was like a medieval village with heads on spikes. But anyway, pushed into fireland. That must have been terrifying. And then there was like this scary guy there who was like a demon, and he said he would reap my soul and all the souls that I love. And then I ended up with Wong, and that's how we became besties. But the show was like fun, and then it was spooky, but in a fun way. And then she gets off the stand. And the lawyer for the Donnie guy says, a fun but spooky magic show? Sounds like a magic show I'd want to go to. Jennifer says, the precedent that you're referring to, what precedent? There is precedent. They never mention precedent. The bottom line, you cannot copyright magic. Okay, and again, if I was in the writer's room, I'd be like, is there a real-world case that I could cite? You know, Houdini versus, you know, Karnak the Great or something in 1934 or whatever. Could I do that? Or 1926. Could I do that? The precedent you're the precedent you're referring to is for card tricks and disappearing women who never speak. Like, what precedent is that? Could you cite the case law? It happens all the time in legal shows. They'll actually cite real-world case law in reference and in context to the case in the show. What are you talking about? Could you explain that case? If you're talking about precedent, they don't. So I have no idea what they're talking about. And if it's a joke, it falls completely flat. So anyway, none of this matters. None of this matters. And then Wong stands up and says, oh, one man in the mortal realm has the ability to cause a ripple so great that he threatens all of the multiverse. Yeah. So, weren't you Sorcerer Supreme when Doctor Strange cast that whole spell to erase everybody's memories and stuff, which was the stupidest thing? They turned Doctor Strange into an absolute idiot with those movies. I know that No Way Home overall was a really entertaining Spider-Man movie, but insofar as establishing the character of Doctor Strange or enhancing him, made him look like an idiot. Introducing that plot device to everything, they could have found another way to weaken the dimensional barriers and everything that didn't involve turning Doctor Strange into a moron. But that's what they did. So anyway, the judge says, I'll need to review the motion and you'll have my decision in a few weeks. Wait, there's no legal basis for any of this. This doesn't make any sense, not even in a quasi-legal context. But anyway, okay. And I keep looking at the judge's name, Judge Hannah, and I keep thinking it's a reference to Hanna-Barbera. Because everything in this show, I'm assuming, is an Easter egg of something else. Like even She-Hulk's law firm, the L in JK, L, and H or whatever, is Lieber, which is Stan Lee's original last name. So, anyway. Can we at least put an injunction to stop the defendant from engaging in this dangerous behavior? And he's like, this is my livelihood. I need to work. And she's like, no, we're not going to stop him from working in his business until after I've made my ruling. Okay. And then this courtroom scene ends and we cut back to Jen in real life. And she's talking about, haha, it's Friday night and I'm all alone. Working, and isn't that sad? So, yeah, I guess I'll give in and create a She-Hulk Tinder account. Because, remember, the whole dating thing, She-Hulk sex life, yeah, it is relevant and it's a factor in the comic books, but it's just not made fun in this show, and you'll see why in a minute. Thank you, Dax Orion, you're right. Ned should have accidentally caused the dimensional crap. Could have kept Strange clean and keep him from looking stupid. Something. They have, and this is just an aside, but they have so dumbed down Doctor Strange in his own. I mean, in his first movie, it was all right. You know, the ending of the first Doctor Strange movie, that was really how Doctor Strange operates. That was a really creative way to set up that character. Really, you know, he risked his life. He gave his life innumerable times. Apparently in some kind of cut scene or a deleted scene or something, he actually went through that whole routine like 1,000 times. So he died 1,000 deaths to save our realm in order to outsmart Dormammu. Right? There's a lot of things that I've complained about the Doctor Strange movie, and I did a whole review on it years ago, but that movie was pretty good overall in establishing that character. Pretty good. There's some flaws. But everything since then, they've turned him into, like, a dummy. I mean, turning him into a comedian in different parts of the original Doctor Strange movie was completely out of place, but No Way Home and then Multiverse of Madness, he just... I don't know what... They've massacred that man. That character has been massacred. He doesn't make any sense anymore. Anyway. So, She-Hulk makes a Tinder account. And all of a sudden, if you can believe it, she gets all these matches and all these guys wanting to date her. Like, oh my god. And then we go out on some more dates. But of course, all of these dates are, once again, stereotypical jerkwads. So, the first guy is like... he's like, wow, you look stunning. How much can you bench? She's like, a ton. And he's like, well, I get 600 pounds. I'm not even a superhero. Uh-huh. And then we cut to... So that guy's all concerned about, flexing, literally. Okay? And then we get, like, a guy in a beret and a scarf. Oh, is he a film director? Yeah, apparently he's a film director. I just had a movie at Sundance. It actually was about a lawyer. His expertise is constitutional law. And that is how he became the attorney to the vice president. Okay. Again, I'm not leaving anything out. This is the comedy. You know what I was thinking of when I watched this scene? I was thinking, have you ever watched House? The TV show House? In one of the later seasons, House and Chase and a couple of the other guys, they go to a speed dating event. Right? And before they go into the speed dating event, they issue challenges to each other. Like, I don't remember the details exactly, but I remember one of them was, can Chase be completely unattractive? Because Chase is just as naturally handsome and attractive with his Australian accent and everything. So they kind of challenge him to, like, act as scummy as possible and see how shallow the women are that they still get attracted to him just because of his looks. That kind of thing. They set up a situation and then you witness the comedy, like a sitcom, right? Even though House wasn't really a sitcom per se, but it was a little bit. Anyway, so guy number 3 with She-Hulk, I have to admit, I was a fan before we matched. How many dates can you go on in a single night? Because this is all happening in a single night. This is all happening she goes on 4 dates in a single night. I mean, your battle with Titania in court, it was incredible. Oh, I like that word. They use that word around me a lot. Oh, yeah, because of, like, the Hulk, the Incredible Hulk, your cousin. Are you indestructible? Oh, I don't know. I haven't really tested it out. I'm not looking to get myself killed. You have kind of tested it out because you were training with Bruce, right? But anyway... yeah, what about super speed? Night vision? Impenetrable skin? Yeah, so he's just like a nerd guy. Can vibranium hurt you? Why? Do you have some on you? You want to test it out? And then she looks at the camera and says, is there anything worse than dating in your 30s? And when that line came up, I quite literally... or vociferously said out loud, watching this show. So anyway, we move on to the last guy, and if you've seen the previews, you already know that this guy is the winner. How is this guy the winner? And he says, I work in medicine, and she says, oh, what's that, like, code for selling Adderall? And he says, no, I'm a pediatric oncologist. Oh, he works with cancer kids. Oh, okay. Wow. And then he says, I've been on so many first dates, and I hate talking about myself. Let's talk about you. And then she perks up. She's like, oh. Also, should we split some fries? Because he's not going to, like, leave her with the tab. And she's like, let's get those to go. So, here's the thing. He's attractive because he wants to talk about her. Right? He doesn't want to talk about himself. He just wants to talk about her. That's the attractive bit. Also, splitting fries. Okay. So, beforehand, remember the scummy guys she was on the dates with beforehand, just as Jennifer, who were, like, really shallow and self-involved, and they were unattractive guys, right? Okay. Well, now that she's the center of attention, right, now that guy's attractive. Oh, now, could you make comedy out of that? Could you have some self-reflection on that? Could you have her break the fourth wall and sort of acknowledge and be a little bit self-deprecating, like, well, now that the attention's on me, wink, wink, you could do that. And maybe you could make some sort of, like, weird, ironic, self-aware comedy out of that. Yeah, yeah, does that happen? No. No, it's just like this is now the This is now the preferred scenario. Anyway, then we cut back to our other plot. Remember our other plot? So Donnie Blaze, with his sling ring, is on stage, and he opens up a portal. And this lady's like, my friend Kayla was up here, and she ended up in a parking garage in Pomona when she volunteered for you. Okay, so, and this is a truck stop somewhere that he's going to send her to. And he's like, no fire hole. And somebody in the audience says, lame. Opening up portals to other destinations or dimensions now is just like a lame trick now. This is where we're at in the MCU. There's no wonder left. There's no surprise. I know, it's a comedy show, right? Okay. Anyway, so how about something different? Instead of opening up a portal, I'm going to make a bird appear in my hand using actual magic. Now, here's the thing. The whole joke when this character first showed up was all he had was basic, cheesy magic tricks that you could buy off of the internet, except for opening up portals with his sling ring, right? But now, all of a sudden, he conjures a dove into existence out of nothing with real magic. This dove then flies around the room and lands on this lady's hand, the CGI dove. The CGI dove then lays an egg in her hand, right? Okay, and then the egg cracks open, and out comes a little baby demon. So, he has no magical mastery, except for the sling ring, but he does have magic to conjure a demon egg-laying dove. Okay, and then this demon, of course, starts attacking things. And he's like, oh, I'll fix this, and he opens up a portal to hell to throw the demon back into, and then doesn't close the portal. So, this guy can open a portal to the underworld. Like, it wasn't an accident. He meant to do this. He knew where he wanted the portal to open to, and he just did it. It wasn't that he, took out a magical book and read the incantation incorrectly, or was messing with the dark arts, or like a copy of the Darkhold ended up in his possession, and he just opens up a portal to hell. Like, okay, sure. And then he doesn't close the portal to hell, and somehow he can't close the portal to hell, and all these demons start rushing out. And then we cut back to Wong watching some show that I don't recognize on his TV back in Nepal. And then Donnie Blaze shows up and is like, hey guy, I need your help. I opened up a portal to hell, which somehow I'm unable to close when I opened it because I left it open for some reason. And now I'm opening up another portal to Nepal to say hi to you, and I need your help. And he's like, what did you do? And he's like, I opened up a portal to hell, and then there's demons all over the place. And Wong's like, well, now I'll go do this. So he leaves Donnie Blaze in Nepal, and then he gets out his magical weapons to go start fighting demons. Meanwhile, back at Jen's apartment, she's flirting with this guy. And she's talking about herself, and she's talking about herself, and he wants to listen. He wants to know what her feelings are on things. And he wants to talk to her. Because he wants to know, tell me more about how you felt. He's a really good listener, guys. And she's ignoring her phone. I gotta say, this is the best date I've had in a while. I mean, swipe dating is so dehumanizing. Yes. Even though that's all you've been doing, and you've been... Anyway, the phone keeps ringing, the phone keeps ringing. And, he's like, you need to get that? It can wait. And then he spills wine on himself. And he takes off his shirt. And she's like, oh my god. He's like so muscly and so hot. And I'm like totally entranced by his hot body. I'm totally objectifying him right now. Which is completely fine, right? Save for like all the messaging we've been getting previously about how bad it is to objectify people for their physical appearance. But anyway, so she's all mesmerized by his muscliness as he walks off to like clean himself up or you know, clean up the stuff he spilt on the couch. And she takes his shirt and just throws it to the side and disappears it. So he doesn't have a shirt so she can continue looking at his hot body. And he's like, where'd my shirt go? I don't know. And then Wong shows up in the middle of this, and he's like, oh, we have to go fight demons. And she's like, what? Like, okay, well, just wait there. I'll be right back. Bye. As, you know, portal opens up, and he's like sitting there, and he's still smiling at her. Oh, she's so dreamy. She's so dreamy. Anyway, so then they fight demon baby monster things, and they're just throwing them and picking them up, and She-Hulk is in no danger at all during this entire thing. And so Wong keeps throwing demons one by one. Look at all these guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's got to be like 12 demons right here, and there's a whole bunch over here, right? And they're just throwing them one by one into this portal. That is a portal going off into, I guess, the Himalayas or some place. I don't know. Here's the thing. I'm wondering if this is like another place on Earth. Are you just throwing them into Antarctica where they're going to like terrorize other people or animals or something? Why aren't you throwing them back into hell? Why didn't you open up a portal to hell to throw them into? Why are you... Anyway, I don't know where this is. Maybe it's another realm or another planet or another dimension where there's no living thing. They don't tell us that, so I just have to assume. Anyway, Donnie Blaze... I guess Donnie Blaze came back through the portal because now he's here in the theater again. Anyway, so they're slinging these things one by one into the portal to Antarctica or whatever. And it's just her throwing things out. But in the course of things, she's saying stuff like about her date. I could be kissing his hot face right now. After so many bad dates, I finally meet a guy who's sweet and listens. Listens to everything about you. Right? Yeah, he listens. And he's very, very hot. Not that it matters, but it does. I wonder what our writers would have thought about a character who was male saying that. Do you think they'd do a rewrite on that one? Talking about a woman. Anyway, so fighting demons, and instead of kissing his very hot face right now, oh my god, I'm fighting demons. So now she's covered in demon goo, and then, here's the thing. All of a sudden, Wong suddenly attains the ability to turn his portal into a suction machine, and then all the demons are sucked out in about 10 seconds. Now, he couldn't have done this to begin with. He couldn't have done this at any point during this entire fight. Only now at the end when we're running out of time and we need to wrap this scene up, he suddenly turns his portal into a vacuum. Okay, and so then Jennifer, She-Hulk, she goes over to these two guys, Donnie Blaze and Cornelius, who I'm still trying to figure out his importance to the whole thing. She threatens them with a demon and says, would you agree to the terms of our cease and desist? So, the case has already gone to the judge, but now they're going to settle out of court with her threatening them with bodily harm from an interdimensional demon monster. Remember earlier when I talked about when Jennifer decided not to call the police on the 4 guys that had attacked her in an alley with supernatural weapons? You know how I only have what the show provides me insofar as words and actions to establish in my mind the character of these people? She-Hulk in particular? Yeah, this is another one of those moments. Like, okay, so you want to be taken seriously as a lawyer. You are an assistant district attorney. You didn't call the cops on attackers with magical weapons, and you're a superhuman law firm person now, and now you're threatening parties in litigation without their lawyer present, mind you, with physical harm if they don't agree to your terms. Okay. Anyway, so then cut back to the best date ever, reading Bad Feminist by Roxane Gay. Isn't he perfect? All he wants to do is talk about and listen to the woman and know everything about her and make it all about her. Also, he's really interested in feminism. Wow. And I saw this and I thought, okay, is this caricature meant as comedy? Or is this just the writer's idealized man? Is this a joke? Because I can't tell anymore. It's like a Poe, right? I can't tell. Is this meant to be a joke? Is this meant to be satire? Anyway, so he's reading Bad Feminist. She-Hulk shows back up, plops down through a portal, and just plops down on him and attacks him. And now it's time to go. And so she takes some demon goo out of her hair, and then just picks him up and carries him off to bed. And then we cut to the next morning. Right? Now, she didn't say, do you want to go have sex? Right? Or is it all right if I kiss you? You know, she didn't actually ask for consent. There was no consent here. She just picked him up and took him to bed. As if he had a way to fight back. But anyway, yeah, I guess it was fine, you know. And no, I'm not some kind of, consent monger in that sense or anything. I'm just thinking about the book he was reading. If you know anything about the contents of that book and some of the stories in that book, yeah. And also the politics if it were reversed, right? I cannot help because the show has given me no choice but to reverse every scenario we have where a man interacts with a woman or vice versa, right? So if the roles had been switched, if it had been some girl laying on a couch and the Hulk just picked her up and carried her off to the bedroom without so much as an interaction about the subject, what would the reaction be by the very people who are writing this show? I have to wonder. I don't know, because I'm not a mind reader. But given the messaging in the first episode and onwards, I have to wonder. Anyway, the next morning, Jen is making breakfast. And she's just in a t-shirt. And Nikki is texting her like, you owe me some dirty deets. Girl. I need some dirty deets. Yeah. But first, you'll never guess who's making the news again. That crazy courtroom psycho, Titania. Remember Titania? We have to set up the plot for the next episode, because there was no plot for this one. Anyway, so Titania's in the news. Super-powered influencer has been cleared of all charges. Really? She busts down the wall of a courtroom for no particular reason, throws a table at innocent people for no particular reason, fights law enforcement bodily for no particular reason, and she's cleared of all charges. That's amazing. Wow. It's sort of like Emil Blonsky, who destroyed half of Harlem and murdered several people, getting a release date. Okay. So anyway, this matters. Okay, so then a guy shows up, and he's like, who are you? Because his knowledge of She-Hulk apparently began and ended with She-Hulk. He didn't understand that there was another, even though it was all over the news. And anyway, so she's like, I'm Jen. Just not in Hulk form, just Jen. And he's like, oh, cool. That's cool. Unexpected. Why? Why is that unexpected? I mean, I suppose you might have been just stuck in your pediatric oncology basement for the last whatever, but the whole premise of this show is that She-Hulk is everywhere. on every news station, on every website, everywhere. She-Hulk. Jen Walters is She-Hulk. Did you think her name was She-Hulk? What is even happening here? What? Unexpected. She's like, I made breakfast. Yeah, I'm gonna go. Like, what? Why? What? So, you encounter a 7-foot-tall green woman who you spent the entire night doing nothing but listening to about her career, about her issues, da-da-da-da-da. You wake up in the morning, and she's in her normal human form, and suddenly that's the turnoff. So you're this caring, sensitive, wants to know everything about this woman man, and you do not understand that she's not perpetually a 7-foot green Amazonian? But then when you suddenly realize that, now you're done with her because all you cared about was the She-Hulk version. And now we're supposed to feel sorry for Jen that her normal self is undervalued. Even though she made a profile of herself as She-Hulk to get dates. Do you understand the nonsense here? Do you understand the absolute just nothing of what am I even supposed to be taking from? Anyway, so now she's disappointed. He walks out and she sighs in exasperation. Whatever. Hot doctor's a cliche anyway, she says. Yeah, like everything else about this show and the characters so far aren't cliche. Like you are not a cliche in every scene. Like this doesn't make any sense. So all of a sudden there's a knock on the door and she's thinking it's going to be Hot Doctor. And it's like, yeah, that was super oh. And it's some guy who says, I got a special delivery for one Jennifer Walters. And she says, I recognize a process server when I see one. Oh, you're such a professional that you recognize a process server. Oh, that's good. But you're not professional enough to call the cops. You're not professional enough to not threaten the, defendants or the respondents in a civil case with physical harm if you don't get your way. Oh, okay. Right. Anyway, it's a summons by Titania. Titania is summoning her over what? Trademark? Misuse of a trademark? Titania trademarked the term She-Hulk. Because Jennifer, didn't trademark her name. And she says, I'm not even kidding, kind of a bummer way to end this episode. I bet there's a fun tag. And then we cut to the credits. That's it. That was the show. Again, just like last episode, I'm like, that's it? That's the end? Anyway, the after credits scene is Wong and Madison watching TV, eating popcorn, and talking about their favorite alcoholic drinks. And Madison calling him Wongers. That's it. That's the entire scene. They're talking about what booze they've drank and what their favorite drinks are. That's it. That's the show. So that's all I have. That's all the show had. I wish I had something more to tell you. But that's it. And I wish I could spend more time with you guys chatting, but I have to go back to work now. After that diversion, I had some downtime, but now it's just about up, so yeah. I appreciate you guys coming out for this, such as it is. If you'd like to hear more from me, by the way, tonight, Thursday night, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, a new episode of TED Excellence will go live. Tonight's subject matter is No Wonder People Are Quitting, Business Must Do Better. Yes, we'll be discussing the Great Resignation. Have you heard about this? I've heard about this. I don't know much about it. I've heard some theories. I guess our speaker will tell us more about it. But yes, the Great Resignation and how to solve that problem tonight, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, on this channel, TED Excellence. Hope to see you there. But with that, everybody, I'm going to call it here. Thank you so much for joining me. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things. Even though everyone here is so well behaved, you have very little to do. Everybody who donated, thank you so much for your generosity. Really do appreciate it. By the way, something I constantly forget to remind and ask, if there is content that you like and a content creator that you appreciate, whether it's me or anybody else, please share their stuff, like their stuff, and when you share their stuff on social media, if you are able, please tag them in that to let them know that you did, because personally, I like it when you do that, and I appreciate it so much, I want to tell you thank you personally, if I can. So, anyway, everyone, hope you have a good rest of your Thursday. Hope to see you tonight on TED Excellence. I hope you're all safe and well. If you are not well, please get well soon, and I will see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.